So, it's been like a month or two since I decided to start prepping to push out some content. And the idea has been churning in my head for quite more than that. But I never felt that I really had my finger on what exactly I wanted to do. I wanted it to be something I'm passionate about. Well, today, or more like late night yesterday, I figured it out. I don't know how old you are, but maybe you remember when you went to school after a long break and either classmates or teachers had changed, and that first introduction day made you feel a certain feeling. Not good, not bad, just kind of surreal. Well, this feels like that for me, but I guess from the teacher's side. Welcome to class. Buckle up. It's gonna be one hell of a ride. Emotional dumping ground classroom. Whoever gets that, mm, congratulations. You get a gold star. The things I want to talk about have been brewing for a while, but came to a boil by the recent murder of Irina Zarutska and yesterday, as of time of recording, assassination of Charlie Kirk. I am not even going to state or ask what the fuck is wrong with people. I have been convinced for a while that things like this would happen, but I was just silently hoping that somehow things would get better. No way the silent majority would let the unhinged rule. First off, let me just make one thing clear. I am not a Charlie Kirk fan. I am not a Charlie Kirk not fan. I'm not saying that to distance myself from any political leaning. I just never really took one person and made them the one thing I love and support and agree with, no matter what. Some things he said I agreed with completely, and some not so much, and some not at all. Like, I also love watching people I don't usually agree with. And I don't mean hate watch. Why is that? Because they offer a different perspective to mine. I don't want to be engulfed in an echo chamber. No matter what side you're on. Echo chambers are what turns you radical. For this, for that. How do you think those things happen? Whatever side you're on, you will think the other side is wrong and broken. But even a broken clock is right twice a day. Cliche, I know. Now that's out of the way, as I was saying, the unhinged, mind-bogglingly so, beside wanting to eliminate anyone who opposes their views, they also think that anyone from their side agreeing with a point from the other side is committing treason, is grifting, is a betrayer. Imagine a 2-year-old that put their hand too close to an open fire and never learned that is hot. Or if we all held the same opinions we had 5, 10, 20 years ago. Those are the unhinged, individuals unable to grow and unable to learn from the past, while constantly evoking it to score points for themselves or the causes that they are virtue signaling for. They try to fight reality. The thing is that a functional person, even when holding certain opinions throughout several years at a fundamental level, progress makes that person need to adjust those opinions to fit the times. With age, people obviously come to realize some things they might have said or done in the past were bad. So now they can say things that sound antithetical to what they used to say. The worst part is when the unhinged try to weaponize other people's change and twist it through some mental gymnastics to discredit or justify malicious actions towards the one who are open for discussions, who are actually tolerant. And that is just a manipulation tactic aimed at silencing you. Most people try to avoid political and social subjects, but sometimes you will see someone dabbling in some critical thinking and coming to a realization that, for example, while they mostly lean left, the right has a good point on X subject. But once they voice that opinion, certain people around them become volatile. At that point, our attempted critical thinker thinks, I better not. I don't want any trouble. This doesn't affect me really. And what does that do? It builds an echo chamber around the people who can't grasp the simple truth. Disagreement is not the end of the world. Disagreement doesn't mean your opponent wants the worst for you. But instead of understanding that, this bunch turns volatile. They keep stewing, feeding each other's outrage, and before long, it's like a pressure cooker, just waiting to blow. I yapped so much, and I haven't even scratched the surface of this rotten society. All I've talked about are opinions and words so far, and people not being allowed to outgrow or acknowledge that they have outgrown bad, but ultimately inconsequential behaviors. Those behaviors should be able to be forgiven and not weigh much on the current improved person. And just to make something very clear, I am talking in a general sense, obviously, when I say forgive and forget. And what about people who committed an actual crime? Some type of assault or some type of carnal degeneracy? It matters, and obviously, not all things can be forgotten. They should not be forgotten. People should face consequences for crimes, that much is certain. Did Carlos Brown Jr. face any consequences to his actions prior to murdering Irina? 2007 to 2009, 3 misdemeanors: simple assault, disorderly conduct, resisting a public officer. 2011, 2013, several more misdemeanors: communicating threats, speeding 22 miles per hour above the limit, shoplifting, injury to property, which was dismissed, and felony charges for larceny and breaking and entering, with a sprinkle of failure to show up to court for several of these. Ultimately, there was a conviction of the felony breaking and entering in 2014, but it only resulted in 30 days in jail with 24-month supervised probation. Now, in 2014-2021, a new felony while on probation leads to prison time, just over 5 years, plus 1 year parole. 222, 224, a few arrests without clear public records of resulting charges or charges later dismissed, not found in the court records. Okay, so what were those? Arrest for assault on a female, plus property damage. 2022, multiple arrests for misusing 911 without an emergency. April and May 2024, all this. And in January 2025, he is arrested for misuse of 911 system again. The specifics included claims that a man-made material was controlling when he ate, walked, and talked. The court records revealed that Brown wanted officers to investigate that material. Officers advised Brown that this was a medical issue and that there was nothing further they could do. Brown didn't like that answer, became upset with the officers, and called 911 with officers still on the scene. This led to another arrest for misdemeanor, and Brown went to jail. But Magistrate Teresa Stokes released him 2 days later on a written promise to appear. So, a repeat behavior that does not fit a civilized society, repeat non-show to court, and now further signs of mental issues did not alarm anyone. While someone like Brown can repeatedly dodge consequences for years, ordinary people face social execution just for voicing an unpopular opinion. In what world does that make sense? Why are opinions treated and judged harsher than actions? And at the very least, if not punishment, then maybe some actual mental help? Because just releasing him and expecting him to suddenly do good, yeah, that usually works. From my perspective, one of the problem is when the unhinged look at the things I mentioned and decide that the equivalent of their house burning, which is rampant violence and lawlessness, is not that important. But rather, they are more concerned with, let's say, mowing the grass, policing words. Another problem lies within people with very firm beliefs that have no self-reasoning, people who mindlessly follow and can't calmly argue their side. Even people who are too complacent and just want to get by. I get it. I also want to just get by. But this change has to come. But it should not be as it's been historically. Looking at the past, I see that every time change happens, it comes in the form of an explosion. And it ends up leading to an overcorrection. That is what happens when one side is too hell-bent on their opinion, and they are not even willing to debate anything that does not align with their point of view. These thoughts come to me personally from watching young to middle-aged American and not American influencers across a multitude of platforms, politicians from several countries, medias in a variety of English and non-English speaking countries. So while this might have felt too broad of a stroke at painting a picture of what's inside my head, down the line it will make more sense as I start breaking down the issues that I believe are feeding our unhappiness and our divisions. I've said my piece for today. Stay aware, stay grounded, and I'll catch you next time.